Lerato is here as well. My name is Afolabi. It's Formula One.
All right, so preseason favorites in terms of constructors and the drivers are Ferrari and Mercedes. But they have their speed. These cars are both fast, but they have speed in different ways. The Ferrari is explosive. It has a lot of torque coming off the corners. It has a great burst of speed, even as it starts coming off the corners. And it appears to have the highest top speed, except say for maybe Red Bull. During Bahrain, Max did have a time when he went to 344, but in general on runs, it looks like the Ferrari has a little bit more straight pace than everybody else on the straights. But we have to remember, Mercedes is a good chance they weren't using their full engine mode, so Mercedes may actually have more speed. But nevertheless, Ferrari does seem to be explosive, like I said, generate a lot of torque and power. Mercedes can sustain power longer down the straights, probably clicks less, and probably sandbagging, so that they probably have more straight line speed. If we were going to make predictions now, we would probably say that Ferrari, especially due to their winglet, which gives them a lot of downforce on the corners, especially slow speed corners, by giving passive downforce, which covers up gaps which other cars give under the ground, since there's no ground effects, to provide stability, not stability, but to keep everything sealed, is probably going to be the best over one lap, better than Mercedes. But once again, Mercedes might be sandbagging. But on the other hand, Mercedes has better tire deg, better sustained power, better conservation of energy throughout the race through recharging, and should be expected to have the long race pace. With that being said, I'm going to say that when you're looking at the weekends, if Mercedes isn't sandbagging, you'll see Leclerc a lot of the time getting pole position or getting a lot of pole positions. He might get the most pole positions this year, followed by probably George Russell. But when we're looking at races, I'll say that Mercedes still has the advantage over a 50-something lap race. And the Ferrari is very, like I said, it's explosive, but it does drop off with tire deg and everything. So what you might be seeing is especially with Leclerc, he's not very good at tire preservation with the way he drives. Hamilton's good at tire preservation, but he's not good at one lap for qualifying. So that's why I say that most likely we're going to see George Russell winning the drivers, maybe. Well, at least between these two teams, he's going to be the one who's coming first. And I think it'll be close between Leclerc and Hamilton, because Hamilton actually has better race pace than Leclerc, but he doesn't have the start. But once again, the main differences between these teams are that the Ferrari car has power, and you're going to see it, especially with the starts. With their turbo, it's lighter, which gives them an advantage. And because of their winglet, they have more stability on the corners, but not stability, more downforce. But that downforce comes at the cost of stability, because it leads to snap, because of the abrupt change in downforce coming into the corners is going to affect it. Now, its straight line speed might be because of its 180-degree rotating wing, but Mercedes must not necessarily need that, because it has full activation on the straights. And once again, that rotating wing also will cause some instability, because even though it provides more lift coming off of the corners, that timing from downforce to lift, or timing from lift to downforce entering, causes instability for the Ferrari, and also causes issues with tire deg. So I guess what I'm saying is that it'll be close between the two teams. Ferrari might have better one lap pace, but when it comes to race pace, Mercedes is the benchmark. What are your thoughts, Afolabi?
Yeah, you're right about that. Mercedes is stronger and more reliable over long runs. Ferrari is faster over one lap. There's no doubt about that. They have more peak performance. Mercedes, on the other hand, has more consistency and control. And I dare say Ferrari is like a car. Like a car that has a powerful turbo boost button, extremely fast when everything is pushed to the limit. But over long runs, Mercedes seems to be more reliable. And then if you look at race pace and consistency, Mercedes was able to stay within a tight 0.3 second window over the long runs. And their car completed more laps than anyone. This shows efficiency and much more reliability, and their tire wear too was much more controlled. In terms of tire wear for Ferrari, it appears that thermal degradation would catch up with them much more than it was.
Very quickly, a lot of their problems with tires is because they changed back to the old, what did they change, the pull rod again or something?
Push rod.
Push rod, yeah, so that's going to give them a more torque, aggression, and acceleration and things and downforce, but it comes at the cost of tires. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but basically, Ferrari's tires sort of heat up more in hot conditions. So, Mercedes over long runs, more reliable. Ferrari more punchy, more powerful, extremely fast when pushed to the limit, especially when coming off of corners. So basically, this looks like qualifying versus race. So, but you never know. Like you said, when you started your analysis, we don't know whether Mercedes was sandbagging or the quantity of load that they were using. But let's wait and see.
Yeah, if they're sandbagging, it won't even be close. We're assuming that but we also know the Mercedes didn't push their car with long runs either, so we don't know how reliable they are. Also, it seems like Mercedes has got the aerodynamics better than Ferrari. It seems like even though Ferrari has what's his name, Leclerc's DNA in it, it's still pointy, and we saw that problem with Verstappen last year. Yes. You have downforce, but you have instability because of the points. So it's not just the fact that they have that winglet and they have those devices which make the transitions with activation of downforce or lift more unsteady. The car itself is a little bit unsteady because it's pointy, so that's going to make a big difference. And last thing, Mercedes has better timing in transitions from the straights to the corners or off the corners, and that's the software. So it seems like Mercedes has a better seamless software so that it's more seamless in transitions, whether you're transitioning from downforce to lift or from lift to downforce. The transitions coming into the corners and out. So it just seems like overall the Mercedes is a more balanced car, deals with curbs better, has a better, more efficient activation deployment, and also probably has more sustained deployment. So that's why I still say that they're probably going to edge out Ferrari. Yes. And I do see Ferrari might get the constructors because they have two good drivers. I don't know. Antonelli's good also, but I think it'll be a little bit one-sided on Mercedes. What are your thoughts, Lorato?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a few other factors maybe that decide how well one team does to another. One of which would be the differences in track performances. I think the different tracks will give strength to one team over the other. For example, in Melbourne, it's expected that if truly Mercedes has not been sandbagging, then Ferrari will come out tops. But we are in general looking at, in terms of the constructors, a competition between those two teams who have, I think, the most stable engine power units. And then I think even Antonelli made a comment about how the battery could give them problems, for example, on a track like Australia, because of the amount of straights that they have, and that the battery might, like, they need to figure out the battery power deployment pretty, like, scientifically, in order to sort of edge out Ferrari.
But Ferrari clips more, so I think they don't have that same problem. They run out of energy, especially if they take so much energy coming off the corners. Ferrari does not harvest well. But go ahead.
Yeah. But I mean, depending on who does better in terms of energy harvesting during the race, then we'll see. And of course now, I think the fact that the Ferrari is so much better at putting power down, it is compromising the tires. I mean, it's kind of like a balance that they need to strike, or a trade-off that they need to figure out in terms of whether they're willing to sacrifice the tire speed if they can sort of, really open up a big gap. Should they get pole position, which I think they would under Leclerc. If they're able to open up a great distance, then they might have a chance. But Mercedes will always be close behind, chasing them.
And we also know that Mercedes will be chasing them.
Yeah, and then there's always going to be sort of like the other drivers in the mix, who might fare better according to their own favorite tracks, who will sort of upset either team if they don't keep consistency. But I think Mercedes overall has the most stable platform, and we know what George Russell can sort of put together as a race, as like a very opportunistic driver who can identify opportunities properly and use them to his advantage.
Yeah. And Russell's more methodical in qualifying than Leclerc. Leclerc just goes all out every lap. Russell will start off slow, FP1, FP2, and he's linear in the way he drives. He doesn't change his approach, and he's going to figure out braking zones. So the problem Leclerc will have is that it's 50-50. In Q3, he may nail the lap and get qualifying, or he will make a mistake as he does 50% of the time. And that's where George Russell is going to be more consistent in qualifying than he is. Last thing, Ferrari, apparently this year, they're better with braking. So they're going to do well on tracks with braking zones and with slow speed corners because of that thing they have in the back of their car. That winglet actually gives you more stability. So they're going to do well on tracks that have low speed corners. Probably on medium and high speed, they'll be equal with Mercedes. So what we're saying, look at Australia. Australia is a lot of straight, not so many braking zones and stuff. And I would give the advantage to Ferrari because they have high straight speed, but also Mercedes is probably not in their full engine mode, so they'll equal Ferrari in top speed, and they probably have a little bit better clicking. So I'm going to still say that it's going to be close between the two teams, and it's going to come down to Ferrari getting qualifying. If they get qualifying, they may be able to hold on, but their problem with tire drag. And let's not sleep on McLaren. McLaren doesn't have as much speed as any of these teams, but probably, once again, they'll probably be the most stable car over all tracks. Because McLaren's whole philosophy is balance. That's their whole, no, not balance. It's the balance and stability. It's not about downforce and power. So they're going to do well on all tracks, and they're going to have the best tire drag that any track has. What are your thoughts on Ferrari?
Yeah, you're right about that. McLaren is, extremely good at recharging their battery quickly while braking. So their software struggles slightly to manage power, meaning that sometimes they run out of a lot of juice. And
I think their thing is going to be mechanical grip and balance, and stability.
Balance. So they could lose top speed at the very end of long straights, but they have a very good battery.
Remember this, though, they have the Mercedes engine. Now, they're not going to have as much power as Mercedes because they're probably not going to, they're not going to integrate it as well. But Father, let me ask you a question, though. Which team do you think actually has the highest top speed and has integrated the Mercedes engine better than even Mercedes? You know who it is.
Yeah, I'd say Red Bull.
No, Alpine. No, Red Bull doesn't have it. Alpine is actually the fastest car on top speed on the straight line, and it's crazy.
The Mercedes engine.
At full
it has the Mercedes engine.
Oh, okay.
And Mercedes helped them with integrating the engine by giving them the gearbox and the second half of the car. So in other words, they gave them 50% of the power unit. So they only have to worry about integration with the other 50%. And they use the telemetry to improve their integration during Bahrain itself. But they don't have the same level of balance that Mercedes probably has, or of aerodynamic.
And they don't have the same
aerodynamic. They're not just the drivers. They don't have the same sophistication of the chassis because they don't have the resources and the body. But their engine is actually the most powerful, not the most powerful, but they were going 320. I think they hit 330 something. They're Gasly, like you're right, the driver too. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, we're getting a little bit off topic. Last thoughts are Falabi, then we'll see what Lorato has to say, then we'll be out of here.
So basically, I think Ferrari's straight line speed it's crazy. 5 to 7 kilometers per hour faster on the main straights, and their active aero.
That sounds like sandbagging on Mercedes.
Perhaps. Their active aero system is optimized for low drag. I think Ferrari is able to sacrifice stability for raw speed, especially on straights, which is, this is tailor-made for qualifying. They're very sharp and stable under heavy braking, and they're strong in the front end. But Mercedes, hands down, in terms of power unit, excellent and more balanced over long runs. And that's what really matters at the end of the day. And for the fact that we're still suspecting that Mercedes might be sandbagging, you never know what will happen at the end of the day. And then we have to consider how astute George Russell is and how kamikaze Charles Leclerc can be. So all this come into play. And like Lerato said also, the track characteristics too will determine a lot of things.
So here's the thing. If Mercedes was sandbagging, that's stupid. Let me tell you why. When they turn the engine mode up, you're going to start seeing they have the same problems that Ferrari has with tire drag and everything else. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
sure.
That's why I said
it would make sense, really. Yeah, sure.
This is not about F1 is no longer about psychology. It's no longer about tricking your opponent. It's about knowing your car.
Yes.
It's about knowing your car.
Yes. It's about the science.
You don't know what problems they're going to have with overheating.
Regulation.
Especially with overheating and stuff. And it's going to change the sync of their car over long runs. So to me, if they're sandbagging, they're stupid because they need to learn some things about how the car operates when you push it all out. Yeah, what are your last thoughts, Lorato?
Yeah, I think it. I don't think sandbagging would benefit them a whole lot in terms of trying to see how the car actually performs. You need the data. You need the numbers, the telemetry, in order to adequately tell what the car can do at optimum speeds. And it is about optimization, trying to optimize the car mid season is always very, very, very risky and very tricky because you might lose out on some key points while you're still adjusting and testing and things like that, like trying to upgrade the car mid-season. So I don't think that's a very good strategic way to go about it. But I think I'm also reflecting a lot on some of the points that Kimi made about the amount of sim work that will need to be done in order to sort of figure out exactly how this energy deployment thing is going to work. New season, new regulations. So they have, I think all the drivers have a lot of work to do before they really find that sweet spot between how to harvest energy, how to deploy it.
That's a vacation.
And how to get the best out of the car while adjusting to tracks. We'll see exactly like how temperatures also from track to track affect tire drag and things like that. But I think when you look at like the longer race, in as much as Ferrari can sort of score those pole positions with Leclerc, he will have a lot of trouble keeping that position with Russell chasing him close behind. And also, I mean, if there are no like internal squabbles between him and Hamilton in terms of who gets sort of gets ahead when the races get going. I also haven't kind of like checked out how the aero will affect, for example, tires when cars are following closely behind each other under these new regulations, and whether teams will be able to sort of keep the same kinds of strategies that they've been keeping under the ground effect in terms of following each other and all those kinds of things, because those are also other kind of like variables that will bring complexities into each race.
They already showed it in the middle of a race. You could be closing on somebody, then your car starts clicking because the algorithm is going to already tell where they're going to do things.
Yeah, losing
so the
power.
The driver's not going to be. The driver may be accelerating, like I'm catching him. All of a sudden, he loses power. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to map out your race, irrespective of racing. Sure. You're going to have to map it out. Yeah, it's going to be crazy, man. And this is where guys like Verstappen come, because Verstappen will use
so
downshifting. He will use downshifting.
Verstappen and people like Russell.
Yeah, they'll be using downshifting to manipulate, since they can't be using the aero, and the downshifting will manipulate the physics of the car. But we'll see, though. All right, nice one, though. So I think, Loretta, you won't be around tomorrow. Tomorrow, me and Afolabi will do the preview for, the preview for this weekend? Because I want to drop it on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, what time tomorrow?
I don't know. We can figure out a time. We'll talk about it. Yeah, we can. I'm free.
8, 9 is okay. I should be around.
Probably 8. Yeah, 8 o'clock or 8:30. Okay. All right. So check us. 8:30 sounds good because I have to leave for work by 9. Okay, check us out, Afolabi.
It's been another brilliant show. We've been discussing Ferrari and the punchiness and strength on one lap, and Mercedes' ability over long runs. And from Mustafa Lerato and myself, it's Formula One again. We'll be back again tomorrow.
Nice one. Thank you.